It's in this booklet here, and it's called How to Develop and Reorganize a Deaf Ministry. And one of the pages in here talks about interpreting and how to think about interpreting and how to do different interpreting. And so we'll be talking about really just one page from this, but you are welcome to go to the SOAR Ministries store and you can order this little booklet. It's not expensive, it's pretty cheap. You can order this, add some things to it, and then you'll have a good order and you'll learn a lot about deaf ministries. We have the 101, it says 101 series, and there's several books in that series, and that's good for new interpreters, new deaf ministries, or if you're just curious and you want to learn the process of how we put together, we organize, we plan, we set up a deaf ministry. And so that's a lot of good information in these booklets. I want to share with you a verse before we start, and that is, or as we start, it says, I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding that I, and left out a little bit, left out there, that I might teach other people also, than to speak 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. That's not what it says. Oh, thumb, sign language. Oh, bad joke. Sorry. Okay. The real word is an unknown tongue or speaking. And this is in 1 Corinthians. It's explaining how to use all of these different languages in the church, the tongues, the languages, and how, when you have people there that don't understand the other person, what are you supposed to do? Well, you need to have an interpreter. And it's better to interpret clearly and slowly and for people to understand than to just sign all of what is said, and for people to just go, don't understand. Many people tell me, hold on just a second here, I've got an incoming phone call. So much for do not disturb. All right. Now, and I would rather have clear understanding. So let's look at this. You know sign language. You're an interpreter. Yay! Many people think if you know sign language, then yes, you can interpret. And that is not true. Actually, I would say, what? What? Many people sign, but they're not good, skilled interpreters. Many times I will call a church and I'll ask and I'll say, do you have a deaf ministry? And they say, well, no, but if a deaf person comes and shows up, then we have a person that knows sign language and they can interpret. But don't just assume that a person knows how to interpret, because interpreting is a very different skill than just simply signing. A person can become skilled at signing and talking and putting out and saying things and receiving and understanding deaf people, and for deaf people to understand the signs. And a person can be clear with that, but not become a good interpreter. Interpreting is a very different skill than just spelling and signing. So for example, now this chart here, it's not perfect. It's not supposed to be like an educational chart to explain everything, but the idea is first you learn ABCs on the very bottom level. You learn the hand shapes. What does this mean? What does this mean? What is this? And all of these different hand shapes. And then you add to that vocabulary, your signs, the grammar, how you explain the signs. And grammar in sign language is different than in English. In sign language, we use eyebrow raises, we use mouth movements, different than the English words. We use body shift, we use placement, and many, many different things. We will show how clear, and in essence, in sign language, we're painting a picture to help people to understand and become clear. Then you get to fluent signing, where when you sign, you're not just signing, you're signing fluently. That's the sign. To sign fluently, to sign fluently. And then there are the receptive skills. The receptive skills. And that is when you see a deaf person and they're signing, oh, I understand them. Now, some people are able first to do the receptive skills, and then the fluent signing comes later. But many hearing people, they can sign before they receive. Really, it's almost the same time, but I've noticed that some people are more skilled with signing and some people are more skilled with receiving those signs. And then you get to the place where you're interpreting. And interpreting is basically listening to something and then changing that into another language. We talked about that last time. Now, when we interpret, what we're doing is it's coming in, we think about, okay, there's a language here, there's a language here, there's a culture here, there's a culture here, and we're supposed to take the language and match and make that clear there, and the culture here, and take the culture and match that there. So it is very important to learn that skill of interpreting. Now, this is not a class on how to interpret, but it's just giving a general idea of interpreting and the skills that are involved in all of that. Then there are the specialties, the high skills that are involved, like legal or medical or other specialty ways of interpreting. And so that is here. And so in the very basic down here, it's just signing words or spelling, very low. And if a person knows a little bit of sign language down here, they're not an interpreter. But the goal is to move up and up and up and up and up. Now, is it possible to communicate hearing to deaf and you get this and go back and forth like that? Down here, yes, of course, it's possible. And you can make it easy and help people, yes. But when we're interpreting in a very formal situation, it's best to have the skills that are up level up here. Now, if you do not have perfect skills, don't worry. No person is perfect. My friend Ted Kemp, he says, I am perfect. He said, I'm perfect. Perfect, okay. And then he says, I never sign wrong. And yeah, that's true. Wrong. Wrong. Got it. All right. So let's talk about interpreting basics for deaf ministries. First of all, when you interpret, there are several things to consider. The first thing that I would recommend that you consider is that you know the group of people that's out there in front of you. Now, we talked about that last time, but I want to emphasize a few things. Language preference. What language do they use? You say, well, sign language. Well, but sign language has a lot of different parts to it. And so, how do they sign? What kind of sign language do they have? So, the language preference. Are they SEE? Or do they use ASL, American Sign Language? SEE is Signing Exact English. Many years ago, when I learned sign language, 1976, and at that time, we only knew SEE. I'm sure there were other people that knew ASL, but we did not know. The people that learned with me, we did not know ASL. We knew SEE, Signing Exact English. And then later we learned, and we had to take our English and throw it away and begin to learn ASL. And then there's PSE, and there's a whole lot of these different acronyms, but Pigeon Signed English. That's where you would take some ASL and some English, and you take the two and put them together. And many deaf people are not pure, and I say pure, that's an English sign, pure ASL. Many deaf people are somewhere in the middle, ASL, English, and they're kind of in between here, and they will accept many English signs. And so that will help us to understand. So find their language preference. What do they use? Now the problem comes when you have one person skilled ASL, they prefer ASL, then you have another person and they sign PSE. And then you have another person that they use SEE. And then you have another person that doesn't read well and maybe they use gestures and all of these different things. And then how do you interpret for that? Well, you have to interpret as clearly as possible. Don't go really high and don't go really low. You try to find a middle area where it's clear for all. And you have to watch, and maybe you will have to repeat and repeat, one for this level, one for this level, and repeat so that these people can understand, all can understand. Now understand, deaf people, okay, I'm hearing. I'm just observing. But I have noticed that many deaf people, they are accepting of different language levels of people. So many deaf people say, "Oh, you're up here. Ooh, okay. Oh, you're down here," and they will change. For example, a deaf person is here, and a hearing person walks up. Immediately, the deaf person will change his language and communicate clearly with the hearing person, and then when he leaves, then they'll change back and sign the same as other deaf people. And so deaf people are very flexible with this idea of change to match the language of the people to whom they're talking. Then also think about what kind of handicaps that the people out here have. What's their handicap? Now, deafness is not a handicap. Hard drive. Deafness is not a handicap, all right? Deafness, they cannot hear, but it's a language problem. It's a language, not problem, difference. Because deaf people can do anything that a hearing person can do. But one thing, they can't hear. And so keep in mind that there are deaf people also that may have, their hands may be like this. Or maybe their eyes, they cannot see clearly. Maybe they have tunnel vision. Maybe they can only see out the side of their face, and so their face is going to be facing this way and they're looking at you this way. Maybe they need to be really close to the interpreter. One of my friends when I was growing up, he had a monocle, and so he would sit, first of all he had an operation, and so he would sit real close and he would use this monocle and he would watch the interpreter. And then later he had an operation and he had to sit way in the back and he would use this little, it was like a little telescope, and he would watch and he would do like this. And what the needs of the people are, you need to interpret to match those needs. And so consider the people that are in front of you. Then also know the situation. The situation. Like, is there good enough light? Do you need to bring another light and put it here, or put it here, or put it here? That's a little strange to have a light coming up like this. But what do you need to do with the light? The light. Do you need a light? Do you need to ask the church to put a light up on the ceiling to shine down on the interpreter so the interpreter is clear? If a deaf person cannot see clearly, then they cannot understand. It's hard to understand. It's fuzzy. So with hearing people, you need a good microphone and good speakers. With deaf people, you need a good light on the interpreter. And also the background. Sometimes maybe the background is full of plants and there's all this busy stuff, or maybe there are people walking back and forth back there. And it bothers deaf people. They look, what? Or maybe the color is just too bright, like there's yellow, whoa, and maybe it's hard and the eyes look at it, or maybe it's red, or maybe it is zigzag, or maybe it is fancy, or maybe there is a, we were in one place and it was very fancy. Oh, it was nice. And they had lights on the wall, and they came out like this, and there was light, 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 light. But there were the lights behind the interpreter. And so deaf people, where they would try to watch the interpreter, but those lights were just, oh. And the deaf people said, it's hard to see the interpreter. Please, lights off back there. And so you have to consider the situation. What does it look like? Where does the interpreter need to stand or sit? Or where is the best place for the interpreter? Maybe the interpreter needs a monitor. Maybe the deaf people need a monitor there so they can see clearly. Maybe the speaker is way over there and, way back there, and the speaker is very small. Well, today many churches have cameras, and they'll video, and you can put here the speaker, and deaf people can see clearly the face of the speaker, and oh, that helps so much. So there's a lot to consider. Now, sound system. Why is that important? The interpreter needs to understand and be able to listen. Sometimes people think, oh, the interpreter doesn't need a speaker there. It's a deaf section. But the interpreter needs to be able to hear clearly. If the voice is all muddled, you can't interpret. So think about all of these things ahead of time to help you to interpret clearly. Then also, something that you can do is you can help the, just give me just a second here. All right, sorry for the distractions. Okay, this is a live class, so that's what happens. So you can help the interpreter to help you. Okay, how? You can help the speaker to help you. So meet the speaker ahead of time. Find out what they're going to be talking about. Find out their point. Find out what they're going to be saying, what verses, what's the topic, what is maybe they have illustrations or stories. Find out those things. Are there words that the speaker is going to use, these big old long words? So find out what they mean, what they mean. Illustrations, what are their stories? Find out the point. Find out the themes. One time here at SWM, we had a Bible class, and we planned to have one pastor come, and he was going to be speaking for a graduation here at Silent Word Ministries. We had partnered with a university, and we had a class here, and after long time, the people that were here were going to graduate, and it was exciting to see them graduate. Well, the speaker came in early on Saturday, and I was talking with the speaker and asked him, tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon, what are you going to be speaking about? What's your point? And so the speaker, he's a pastor himself, and he said, okay, well, let's say number one is, and number two, and it was kind of hard. He was like, what are the numbers? I told him, just tell me, what is your point? What is the invitation? What is the point? He said, oh, that's easy. And he told me, boom, what the point was. And I went, oh. Then on the next day, as he began to speak, everything that he said, I knew added to that main point. I knew that as he developed point one and developed point two and developed point three and developed point four, all of those things were leading up to the topic, the point, what he was going to say. All of that together. And really, that helped a great deal. And so, meet the speaker. Now, if your pastor does not want to reveal to you what his topics are, maybe he's not going to tell you the verses. Maybe he's not going to tell you the outline. Maybe, that's a good English sign, outline, okay? Maybe he's not going to explain all of these things to you. Maybe it's very private. That's fine. Be respectful and say, thank you. But it is good to teach all of the people in your church how the deaf ministry functions and how the interpreter can be prepared. The speaker is prepared, has an outline, he's ready, he's practiced, he's thought it through. The interpreter, on the spur of the moment, has to do all of the work that fast. It's hard. If you are a speaker, a pastor, a preacher, an evangelist, a missionary, you're a guest speaker at a church, or anything, and we're talking about church interpreting here. If you are the speaker, learn how you can structure your message so that it becomes clear, so that the deaf can understand also. Now, you say, well, I'm clear. Think about how deaf people will understand your message as well. Enough said on that. We have a whole pamphlet to explain how to speak to deaf people clearly with an interpreter. Maybe we'll show that in the next season of Eagle SOAR. All right. Then listen for the meaning. What is the meaning? Listening, oh, okay. What is the meaning of the message? And the main point, what is he saying? How is he saying it? Is the speaker, really bold and excited, and is he jumping up and down? Is he moving around a lot? Is the emotion, the feeling, is it strong, or is the feeling kind of subtle? Is it sarcastic? Is it compassionate? What is the feeling that you're hearing? Then sign that same way. Match that feeling. We call that the affect. And so you need to match what is being said. And is there a second message? Is there something that people understand, but he never said that, or she never said that? If you understand the underlying message, it helps you to be able to interpret clearly and get that point across. And then also, as we're talking about signing clearly, match the language needs. And we talked about who the people are that are out there. You need to bring this down and match those language needs. Use the correct sign. The word sign is funny. Sign, 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 sign. And each one of those signs means something different. And so you need to match the correct sign with the meaning that's being listened to, and sign it correctly so that this person understands that meaning. Then many new interpreters, or I've seen many church interpreters, they'll interpret, but they won't finish the sentence. They won't finish the idea. They'll interpret, stop, interpret, stop, interpret, stop, and a lot is missed. So here's a hint. As you begin to learn to interpret, as you begin to even if you're just a person and you're not really formally interpreting, you're giving this and giving this and giving this, and it's back and forth and back and forth. As you are helping these two people communicate, then what they say with their voice, then sign until you're finished, and then what they say with their signs, voice until it's finished, and make it clear and make it clear. Finish your thoughts, finish your sentences, and then think about things like placement, where things are. Like you put a person here and you put a person here, and this person and that person, then they meet and they go away, and then this person goes over there and that person goes over here. Where is the place? Maybe there's a mountain over here. And so when you talk about the mountain, you look over there, the mountain. If you talk about God, you put God there. That's the place. You put sin down here. That's the place. So you have God up here, you have sin down here. And then you say, God, but who's up there? Because you didn't put the place is not there. God is over here. So use the right placement where things are. Your eye contact. Use your eyes to look and make it clear, and you have this point and that point and that point and that point. Use your eyes, or you're talking to the person, you say, this point and this point and this point, and you're using your eyes to help clearly communicate. So think about your eyes and the ASL, making your signs ASL clear. And so then the next thing, we talked about a little bit of your posture last time. Add a little bit more here. Never lose your cool. Meaning, like, if something happens like, ah, that's not what was said. So don't interpret, ah, because your face shows what is communicating. You're an interpreter. Interpreters, it's like the interpreter person has to be put off, and now you take this persona and put it on, and then you interpret, and when that's done with, you take that persona off, and now you can, myself. But an interpreter does not have the right to interject, or put in your own ideas or your own thoughts. You need to match the speaker's affect, the feeling. I knew that word was in the list here somewhere. Be confident. When you interpret, be confident. Now, if the speaker is timid, then you be timid. You show timid. If the speaker is bold, then you show bold. If the speaker is being embarrassed, then you sign embarrassed. You look like what he sounds like. Try that again, okay? You look like what he sounds like. So the sound is going to be put here and portrayed here. So it's him, it's not you. So be confident and look like you know what you're doing. Don't stand up and like, look like you know what you're doing. There are some times when the speaker doesn't know what is next. True. And every speaker knows that feeling. Sometimes a singer will be up and they will be singing and they don't know what's next. Maybe they forget the words. I remember when my wife Diane and we got married, and it was so funny. We had memorized vows. Our vows. We'd memorize them. She memorized them. She's smart, memorization. Me, when I memorized it, and so I memorized it, yes, but I remember standing there and I spoke the vows, but I forgot the words. The right words came out, and I was very happy for that. But I was not sure what was going to happen next, and happily we recorded it. Yes, it was old tapes. We recorded it. I listened to it. Yeah, it was fine. But sometimes you don't know what's going to happen next. As the interpreter, you don't know what's going to happen next. You're just standing there, confident, look like you know what you're doing, and then just do it and portray it. But always you're matching what is the affect, you're matching what is the message, and you're matching everything about this to portray this so clearly. So a deaf person looks at you, they look at the speaker, and they go, match. Good, it's right. Don't become distracted. Focus on the message. Focus on your signs. Don't think about other things that are happening. I recall one time I was interpreting and sweat. It started right back here. And in my back, it came all the way down my back. It was slow. It was like it tickled. Ooh, it was funny feeling. And I remember signing. And I could feel it. And I was signing away, And I thought about that. And no person knew what was happening to me. That's good. Be clear. Did I say before, be clear? Did I say before, match the message? Be clear. Don't get distracted. Pay attention and sign, and don't get involved and messed up and distracted. Then when we get to the end, analyze. Think about your presentation. Now, in process, watch the feedback. As you're signing, watch the people, their eyes. What do their eyes? Are they looking? Are they nodding at the right time? Are they shaking at the right time? Are they agreeing or disagreeing at the right time? Is the message affecting them in the right way? Analyze how your signs are good. Are they clear, or are they kind of so-so, or do they need a lot of improvement? Do you need to back up? Always be analyzing the feedback as you see, as you watch the people watch you as the interpreter. Another good idea today most everybody has a phone. Set your phone out there and record yourself. And then when you're done, go home, wait maybe a day later, then turn the sound off and watch yourself sign. And remember when I was in college and we were learning to preach, one of the things we had an old video tape, and really it was not like a tape like that. It was this big old machine, and it came down like this, and there was this big old tape, and it was a video tape, and we had to buy the tape and everything. And so we got this tape and we set it up, and we preached. We had to video ourselves. Then it was done. We had to take this and go to the lab. We didn't have videotapes in our rooms, so we had to go to the lab, plug it in, watch it, and we had to critique ourselves. That's a good idea. Critique yourself. Learn yourself what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Was that clear? Was it not clear? Were your eyes the right? Was your body right? Was your placement right? Was your mouth right? Were your signs good? So review, look again. And then ask another interpreter beforehand. Tell the interpreter, sit, you sit over there with the deaf, you watch me. I'm going to sign, and you write down what, like I need to improve what. You write it down, and that'll help me, and I'll help you. And as that person, as they write it all down, don't go, oh, just ignore them. And afterwards, when it's all done, then you sit down and you can talk about it. Maybe you need to wait till tomorrow and then sit down and think about it, and you'll remember, oh yeah, that was wrong. Oh, that was good. Yeah. And when they write down good things, write down what needs improvement things. All right. And then don't rush. Now I realize you see you signing here, you think, oh, sign fast. But don't rush. If the speaker is fast speaking, most of the time, the thought process is not fast. The words are fast, but the thought process is not fast. Slow down. Sign clearly, and fast words do not mean that the message is fast. Never sign more than 80% of your skill. Now this is my rule. This is a John Barr idea. But never sign more fast than 80% of your skill. And then as you're signing, think. That's an awesome concept. Okay? Think about your signs. What does it look like? What do they see? How do they understand when I sign that? And so it will help you match. And then again, when you as you're interpreting, as you're listening, you're analyzing what you're hearing, and that'll help you greatly. Getting close to the end here, interpreter feedback. Then do this, like we said, arrange it ahead of time, and then limit. Maybe you say, okay, today I'm going to be practicing my mouth movements to match ASL than words. And so you help me watch my mouth today. Or maybe you're practicing your eyebrow raises and that lowers. Or maybe you're practicing your eyes where they're focused. Or maybe you're practicing your placement. You say, today I want you to emphasize, write down what I'm doing good and bad with placement and my references to these things. And that person can help you with specific things if you tell them ahead of time. Then when you do this, when you ask people for feedback, we call it thick skin. That means when they criticize you, accept it. Don't just go, oh, accept it. They're probably right. Now, if you're over here and you're critiquing, be nice to the person, right? Because you're next. But realize, be thankful that that person there is helping you to improve. And that's the last thing here. Well, almost last thing is continually improve. Go to workshops. Go read and view it online. Study different ideas and concepts. Look for ASL elements, things, how you can be clear ASL. your face, your classifiers, your space, and all of these different things. Learn as much as you can. Never stop learning. It's so sad to me when I see many of my colleagues and I say, there's a workshop over here. You ought to come and learn. It'll help you. It's like, oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you. It's like, no, you're not. They need the workshop. Oh. It's important to improve, to always improve, to have the attitude of improvement. Did I say this before? Focus on the meaning. Always communicate the meaning, the point. If there's no point, no meaning, there is no communication, and we have communication breakdown. So focus. And then let's see, I think we've already covered that. So then the last thing here is I wanted to let you know again that you can go to the Silent Word website, silentword.org/store, and you can search for, just type in 101-11. That's the number of this book right down here, 101-11. Or you can look for the word develop, D-E-V-E-L-O-P, develop, and then reorganize. It's easier, 101-11. So you can look for that, and that'll be helpful to you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the time here tonight. And as you think about your interpreting, as you think about the future of interpreting, as you think about God using you to help communicate the Bible truth to people who otherwise would not know it, consider your improvement and the things that we've talked about here tonight. And then remember that SWM is here for all of your deaf ministry needs. We are here to help and to serve. And we would love it if you contact us, and we would love to be involved in helping your deaf ministry as you really begin to, like an eagle, soar. God bless you.